friends, and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about asking a deeper question or asking deeper questions. Sometimes there's more than one deep question to ask. And what I mean by that is that there is often things that kind of hover beneath the surface of our conscious mind that are wreaking havoc on our lives. And it's only in being brave enough, I'm going to say, to kind of face or confront those deeper issues that you find your freedom. And many of us are walking around, going through life, and just underneath the surface are issues that kind of hide out, if you will. They kind of just sit beneath the conscious mind, but they're showing up in our life in a myriad of negative ways, causing havoc, causing drama, causing all around just unhappiness. And asking deeper questions is the process of starting to dive deeper into some of those issues that are lurking there. And the majority of us have them. Very few people get all the way through childhood and through young adulthood without having something, I'm going to say traumatic. It may not be a traumatic experience, but it's something that was um, scarring, something that left an imprint on your psyche. So let's say, for example, someone managed to have the perfect parents and they made it all the way through childhood. They were doted on, they were loved, they were told they were special, um, they were just taken care of. Their parents made sure that they had healthy self esteem, just all of that. And so they went out into the world and they were just fly as can be. And then they get their first heartbreak. They meet the first guy or girl who breaks up with them or leaves them for another human being. And they are often left feeling, many of us have had this feeling before when we hit young adulthood, that I'm not enough, that there's something wrong with me, that I'm broken, or I'm not pretty enough. Something um, made the person that we loved turn to another. And so it can oftentimes leave us filled with a sense that we are broken. So even if you get all the way through your childhood, most of us don't. Something is going to happen somewhere along the line to most people that will create a hiccup, if you will, in their psyche, in their consciousness, in their otherwise healthy way of showing up in the world. And we all have them. And it's only when you start looking for them that you find out what is there. So when I refer to asking a deeper question, that's what I'm talking about. So many people are moving through the world with shame or guilt or low self-esteem, or maybe they were abused when they were younger, or like I said, maybe they had a broken heart that just kind of left them feeling like they weren't worthy enough or that they weren't valued. Oftentimes parental neglect can just scar um, people in just so many different ways. And so we're talking about that. So once you recognize that there is more than likely something lurking beneath the surface and it's showing up in your life in a myriad of ways, then you want to start digging for it. And so let me see if I can come up with a quick example of how something like this can show up in your life. Okay, let's say someone all the way through grade school. So let's say maybe from second grade or third grade to sixth grade, they were bullied. They were just one of the misfortunate people in life that found themselves the target of a bully. And that happens to a lot of people in school. Something like that can really scar a person, and one of two things can happen. Bullying is very dangerous. If you have children that are being bullied or are bullies, I beg you to intervene and stop that process. Get them help, therapy, counseling, school intervention, whatever you need to do to protect the bullied, but also to alter the behavior of the bullier. Like, no one benefits from that situation, and oftentimes when kids are bullies as children, they can grow up to have some really kind of broken and detrimental views about life and about how you treat other people, and they can just become abusive, and it seems like it's just a harmless thing that kids do, but it's not. It's a big deal. So you want to intervene. But let's just say someone was bullied from the ages of, what did I say, third grade through sixth grade, and um now they're going to high school. The scar of that is still there. So that could show up, and I just told you, skipped over junior high, but you get my point. So that scar can show up as um, being fearful about things, or maybe they're timid to speak up in class, or maybe they are reticent to make new friends because they have the memory of what happened to them when they were in their grade school years. And it can even follow them on up into adulthood, and show up as low self esteem, show up as a lack of assertiveness, show up as being timid around other people. And I've even seen bullying show up in the reverse form. Someone that was bullied as a kid, when they grow up, as I mentioned before, they become not the bullier, the victim of the bullier. Can move through the world thinking, I will never be a person that lets anyone take advantage of me. And so the slightest thing that happens to them, that someone does to them, maybe it's just a harmless slight, to use that term again, they perceive that as an out and out onslaught on their behavior, and they lash out. So I've seen situations where someone that was bullied as a kid, they grow up to be an adult with a really quick fuse. Like, the least little thing is going to set them off in their mind, and more times than not, they're not even aware of it. They made a pact or a commitment on an unconscious level that I will never be bullied again. And so they grow up and they move through the world with this sense of, um, I'm going to get you before you get me. And so if you even look like you are getting ready to try to get over on me or do something to me, like, I'm going to pop quick. And I have a little confession. I had a little bit of that because I was bullied when I was a kid. And I did realize that it was showing up in ways that weren't serving me. And so I noticed when I was a young adult that sometimes I could pop really quick when there was no need to pop. So that is sometimes how bullying can show up in people's lives. And so I'm not going to say that I was bullied. Some people are bullied really bad, but I had a period of it when I was a young person, and it made me tough in a lot of good ways. So my challenge was to take the positives. That's what growth and expansion is. Taking the positives that come from a negative experience and making sure that they serve our growth process. So for me, what happened was I became a little bit tougher, and I was more willing to stand up for myself. But like I said, some people can just go beyond, and they can just become a nut and just, really hard to deal with. So that's one of the ways that things can kind of hide and just float beneath the surface and show up for us in ways that harm us and harm the people around us and the people that care for us. So now that we've established what it could look like, it could be a myriad of things. Sometimes it's guilt, sometimes it's shame, sometimes people that have been abused, they move through the world with excuse me, with this sense of I have no worth, I have no value, almost like a tail between the legs feeling that I'm defective, that it's my fault that something happened to me. Why didn't I prevent that? And if you were abused, it is never your fault. It is only the fault of the abuser, and I'm going to put quote even around that, because hurt people. And so we have to step back and look at the totality of the human experience. And so we don't judge, we don't blame, we don't point fingers, but we do look at facts, and we accept facts for what they are, and we try to move to modify behavior and try to shine a light on the dark places so that people can find freedom. And when they find freedom, they won't abuse other people. So we have mercy and compassion for both the abused and the abuser, because something's really off there, something's really wrong, and we want that person to get help as well. But there's nothing wrong with you if you were in that situation, but some people carry the scar of that. They carry the wound, the guilt, the shame through life, and they're just not showing up as their full selves and in their power. So that's what can happen when things are just beneath the surface. Let's talk about asking the deeper question, which is why I'm here. It's a simple process. It's so powerful and so effective. If you can get quiet, if you can do it during or after you've meditated for the day, get a journal, get a candle, and really get quiet and allow your consciousness to just relax and just rest and just have a willingness to hear. It will speak to you. It will tell you what is beneath the surface that you may or may not be noticing. Oftentimes we know it's there. We just haven't moved to a conscious acceptance of it. We have kind of a semi conscious aware of it, kind of like I had for a while when I was younger, and I realized, you got mad at that lady, and there really was no need for all of that. Like, she was wrong, but you could have really approached that differently. So I had a semi awareness that it was there, and it was only when I was willing to step into a full conscious awareness and then be willing to grow through that process that I was allowed to experience freedom in my life. So it's there, and you want to get quiet, and you want to ask yourself the deeper question. And so let me give you some examples of these deeper questions, what they could look like. What am I afraid of? Why am I always angry? Why do I overreact? Why am I afraid? Why am I slow to speak up? Why am I slow to stand up for myself? Like, when you just get quiet and start asking these deeper questions, something's going to bubble up to the surface. And oftentimes, you'll be able to trace it back to the exact moment that the imprint was made on your psyche. And if you can do that, once you get the larger picture, it's so much easier to walk away from that behavior when you can say, you know what? I'm not showing up for myself because when I was in the third grade, my father left. And I have this sense that people are just going to let me down, so I don't even bother to ask. Do you see where I'm coming from? Like, it shows up like that. And sometimes a connection may not be, as I said, right in your conscious awareness. It may not happen when you ask yourself the question for the first time. It may take a couple of times, but if you sit with it and if you have the willingness to hear, it will start to bubble up for you. Because here's the thing about consciousness, about God, whatever term you use for that, it wants you to be free. It wants you to be out there and moving and shaking, living your purpose, happy, shining the light, freeing other people, serving. That's what it wants for you. And so it's waiting for you to show up for yourself and get on the path to becoming the fullness of who God intended or consciousness intended for you to be. And so you got to ask yourself the question, what's holding me back? And just be quiet and be willing for that answer to bubble up for you. So I hope you found this beneficial. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. I'm always in this space of trying to give you things that you may not be thinking about, but may be actually hindering you showing up for yourself or living life as fully, as completely as you can. I love you. Thanks for being with me, and until next time.